Right now, in this moment, your brain is different from your grandfather's brain. Not metaphorically, not philosophically, structurally. The physical architecture of how you think, focus, remember, and feel has been altered by something that did not exist 30 years ago. You did not consent to this. You were not warned. And the most unsettling part is that you cannot feel it happening because the thing doing the rewiring is the same thing you are using to think with. That thing is the internet. And this is the story of what it actually did to you.
Start with what a brain is. Your brain is not a fixed organ. It is not a computer with set hardware running unchangeable code. It is a living structure that physically reshapes itself in response to what you repeatedly do, see, think, and experience. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. Every habit you form, every skill you practice, every environment you spend time in, all of it carves new pathways into your neural tissue and lets old ones fade. Your brain is, in the most literal sense, built by your life. For most of human history, that life involved deep, sustained attention. A farmer watching the sky for weather, a hunter tracking an animal across miles of terrain, a craftsman shaping the same object for hours, a reader moving slowly through a book, paragraph by paragraph, building a world inside their mind. These activities all share one feature. They required you to hold your focus on one thing for a long time. And that sustained focus was not just a skill, it was the foundation of how human cognition worked.
Then the internet arrived, and it brought with it something your brain had never encountered before: infinite, instant, frictionless novelty. Before you understand what that did, you need to understand one thing about your brain. It is a novelty-seeking machine. This is not a flaw. It is a survival feature. For your ancestors on the open savanna, new stimuli meant potential danger or potential opportunity. The rustle in the grass, the unfamiliar smell, the stranger approaching the camp. Your brain evolved to snap to attention the moment something new appeared. It releases a small burst of dopamine, the chemical of anticipation and reward, every time it detects something novel. That dopamine hit feels good. It compels you to look, to investigate, to engage. It kept your ancestors alive. The internet did not create that system. It hijacked it. Every notification, every new post, every thumbnail you have never seen, every headline that surprises you, every message you did not expect. Each one of these is a novel stimulus, and each one triggers that ancient dopamine response. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a rustling in the grass that might be a predator and a notification that someone liked your photo. The response is the same. The chemical is the same. Only the context has changed. Neuroscientist Gary Small at UCLA was among the first researchers to document what internet use was doing to brain structure. In a landmark 2008 study, his team used brain imaging to compare the neural activity of experienced internet users with those who rarely used it. The difference was dramatic. Experienced users showed significantly more activity in the prefrontal cortex, the region associated with complex reasoning and decision-making, during internet searches. At first, this sounds positive. But Small's follow-up work revealed something more troubling. The brains of heavy internet users were being trained to skim, to scan, to process information in short bursts rather than deep, sustained engagement. The very act of searching was reshaping the brain's preference for how it received information. Your brain began to expect interruption. Think about what that means. When you sit down to read a book now, a real book, without notifications, without links, without the option to click somewhere else, something happens. Your mind drifts. You reread the same paragraph. You feel a pull, almost physical, toward your phone. That pull is not weakness. That is not you being undisciplined. That is a brain that has been structurally trained to expect a new stimulus every few seconds, suddenly being asked to wait, and it does not like waiting anymore.
Researcher Marianne Wolf, a cognitive neuroscientist at UCLA and author of Reader Come Home, has spent years studying what happens to the reading brain in the digital age. Her findings are striking. The deep reading circuit, the neural pathway that allows you to slow down, absorb complex ideas, make connections across long stretches of text, feel what a character feels, is not hardwired. It is built through practice. And it can be lost through disuse. Wolf found that even among academics and devoted readers, prolonged exposure to digital reading habits was weakening the deep reading circuit and strengthening the skimming circuit. The brain was optimizing for speed at the cost of depth. Researcher Marianne Wolf, a cognitive neuroscientist at UCLA and author of Reader Come Home, has spent years studying what happens to the reading brain in the digital age. Her findings are striking. The deep reading circuit, the neural pathway that allows you to slow down, absorb complex ideas, make connections across long stretches of text, feel what a character feels, is not hardwired. It is built through practice. And it can be lost through disuse. Wolf found that even among academics and devoted readers, prolonged exposure to digital reading habits was weakening the deep reading circuit and strengthening the skimming circuit. The brain was optimizing for speed at the cost of depth.
You are reading faster. You are understanding less. But the rewiring goes deeper than reading. Consider memory. Before the internet, when you wanted to remember something, you remembered it. You rehearsed it, you wrote it down, and reread it. You told other people. The act of effortful retrieval, struggling to pull information out of your own mind, is one of the most powerful memory consolidation tools the brain has. Cognitive scientist Betsy Sparrow at Columbia University called what the internet does to memory the Google effect. Her research showed that when people know they can look something up, they do not encode it into long-term memory. The brain offloads the storage to the external system. Why remember something you can Google in 4 seconds?
The answer is because memory isn't just storage. Memory is the raw material of thought. Every original idea you have ever had was built from connections between things you already knew. When your long-term memory is shallow, when most of what you know lives in a search bar instead of inside you, the connections become harder to make. Your thinking becomes more reactive and less generative. You become better at finding other people's ideas and worse at producing your own.
And then there is attention. Not just the ability to focus, but the depth of it. In 2015, Microsoft Canada released a study claiming that the average human attention span had dropped from 12 seconds in 2000 to 8 seconds in 2015. Shorter than a goldfish. The goldfish comparison was later disputed, but the underlying data pointed at something real. Digital media environments were training people toward shorter and shallower engagement with any single piece of content. The scroll, the swipe, the tab switch, the video skip at 3 seconds. These are not passive behaviors. They are habits. And habits reshape brains.
Here is the part that most people miss. The internet did not do this to you maliciously. The early internet was genuinely chaotic and open. What reshaped your brain was not the internet itself. It was the optimization of the internet. The engineers at the largest platforms on Earth spent billions of dollars and millions of hours studying exactly what kept you scrolling, clicking, watching, and returning. They found the precise intervals of reward that trigger compulsive behavior. They built recommendation algorithms that feed your novelty-seeking brain an endless stream of perfectly calibrated stimulation. They did not build a tool. They built an environment, and you live in it.
So, what does this mean for you right now?
It means that every time you sit in silence and feel uncomfortable, that discomfort is information. Your brain is telling you it has been conditioned to avoid stillness. Every time you reach for your phone without knowing why, that is a trained reflex, not a choice. Every time you find it hard to finish a long article, a chapter, a thought, that is not your intelligence failing. That is your attention having been systematically shortened by an environment designed to do exactly that.
But neuroplasticity works in both directions. The same mechanism that allowed the internet to reshape your brain can reshape it back. The deep reading circuit can be rebuilt. Sustained attention can be retrained. Memory can be deepened. Not through willpower alone, but through the deliberate construction of environments and habits that demand depth instead of speed. Boredom is not the enemy of thinking. Boredom is the beginning of it.
Your grandfather's brain did not have to fight for its own depth. Yours does. That is not a personal failure. That is the most human challenge of your era, the challenge of remaining fully yourself inside a system that profits from your distraction. Right now, in this moment, your brain is different from your grandfather's brain. The question is whether you are going to let someone else keep deciding how.